possible, wants to do it with volunteers to keep the budget.
All right, good evening. I would like to call this joint budget and Board of Selectmen meeting to order this evening, March 9th at 6 p.m. Good timing. April, would you like to call the
Sure.
Budget Board to order, please?
I will call the budget board to order. We have currently 2, 4, 8 members here
And you have one on Zoom.
and one on Zoom. Okay. Perfect. So we're ready to roll.
All right.
I didn't know if you guys wanted to approve your minutes.
Oh, we can do that. Did everybody get a chance to read their minutes?
No,
Dan?
I'm always the last one.
Good job, Bill Gare.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes from last week?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Okay. You need us to approve our minutes?
Not yet, you'll do
No,
that
because ours
later.
is our selectmen's meeting, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, shall we get started?
We should. We handed out, Yanina handed out packets of information that we emailed you yesterday. Woo! I just wanted to review that. In that packet, you should have a sheet called the State of Maine Full Value Mill Rates for York County. So this is, the state of Maine determines these values based on what they determine as a full value for each municipality, and then using that tax rate, divides it into that full value to get this mill rate. So this is supposed to be a more apples and apples comparison, but you'll see that it is information back to 2021 is the newest information they have, because they're about 2 years behind. The next sheet that you should have is the York County reported mill rates. So for the last 3 years, these are the actual tax rates that you would find on the town's website or in their tax documents. We also included in there some information about the budget and how that works with the fund balance. And basically, if funds are not expended or we have revenues over estimates, those monies at the end of the fiscal year go back into the fund balance. And it talks a little bit about the fund balance and what the purpose of the fund balance is and what that includes. You should also have a sheet that has the 2023 residential building permit fee comparison. We were asked at the end of the meeting about our building permit fees in comparison to other towns. We did increase those a few years ago, and so Warner brought forward this document with updated figures from these towns that we compared ourselves to last year, and gave you 2 different scenarios and what those fees might look like in actual real life. The next sheet you have should be a fairly full spreadsheet, but what we tried to give you was some information on the fuel, so both heating as well as gas and diesel. So we have the different locations that you would find these in your budget, and you can see that we have everything from number 2 fuel oil to propane to gas to diesel. So every year we calculate prior to the budget what our actual calendar year usage was for the previous year, since that's the most up-to-date information. Keep in mind that that can vary depending on the winter, both in terms of heating, but also how many snowstorms, so how much diesel we use. So that can vary, but that is what we had for calendar year 2022. You have in there what we actually had budgeted for fuel in 2022 and what our actual prices were that we paid. And I had to pick a point in time because our fuel oil is usually a set price, but gas and diesel are benchmark, so we picked a point in time. And then FY23, our budgeted fuel price and what we are actually paying as of December 2022, and then what we have budgeted for fuel funds and the prices that we used, along with our projected gallon usage. On the bottom of this sheet, you'll see that in calendar year 2022 for the general fund, we had a little over 40,000 gallons that we actually used. And we, in the budget, projected about 43,000. So remember, we're giving ourselves a little buffer based on some previous history. We look at, how much we've used over a number of years, and what the fuel contingency. So Years ago, we used to have a large fuel contingency when we were seeing much more fluctuations in fuel prices. That came down, and we were down to 5,000 in FY '22. Last year, as we were going through the budget process, fuel prices sparked dramatically, and so the decision was made to increase that fuel contingency. And this year, we were not seeing as much of that going on, but rather than put it in each budget, we put it in the fuel contingency at 15,000. And so based on 40,000 gallons overall, and not to say that it, we might see price increase in one product and not another, but overall, that's the kind of buffer that gives you with those contingency amounts. So is that understandable? And then you have a number of sheets in your budget that go over the various accounts and try to give some comparison between FY '22, FY '23, and what were some of the reasons why, if monies weren't spent down, or what some challenges were going on during that point in time. So I just wanted to review those sheets. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the other thing I want to update you on is we're going to pass you out the RSU 21 budget. So this is not the full budget document. You can go find it on the website. So to save paper, we gave you the most important sheets. Do you want to pass those out? So this morning, the Finance Committee met, and I attended that meeting, and this draft budget was presented, and the Finance Subcommittee voted to first reading on this, and this will be discussed at their March 20th school committee meeting. So they still have a long process to go through. What you should know is that their budget, as we discussed, they're seeing a $1.7 million decrease in revenue. They're having about a $1.5 million increase in expenses. And so when all is said and done, I think their budget increase was about 7%, 7.02%. And, but then it goes through a very complicated formula. And in this copy, you'll see that formula. It depends on whether the funding is below essential programs and services or over. It depends if it's debt and if it was during the SAD days or the RSU days. And so the monies go through a variety of formulas. The end result, and they use the past 3 years' average valuation for each town. So the end result based on this is that Kennebunk and Arundel are seeing close to a 9% increase in their tax rate. And Kennebunkport will be just about 1.67. So education funding is up 2.4% for Kennebunkport as of this morning. When that's played out through the increased valuation, it comes down to 1.67. So I would tell you that there was lively conversation this morning at the committee meeting about the fairness and equity of this formula. And I would say there are many years that Kennebunkport remembers
Yeah.
being on the other side of that conversation. And I'm sure we'll have our day in the barrel again. But this is still a draft budget. Keep in mind that it is not uncommon for them to add funds to the budget. So it's early on, but I wanted to make you aware of that. The other point is that this week, York County, I had a conversation with the York County administrator. He gave me Kennebunkport's share of the new draft budget for York County. And he was going to send me that document, but I have not received it yet. But he did give me that number, and it was higher than anticipated. So before we had thought that they were going to be about 5%, or we were estimating, and that was about $65,000. I was told this week that We will probably be more like $100,000
Quite an increase.
increase.
Yikes.
So it's 7.72%. So we put this date on it, so you can put it in your commitment tab, but it has, this is March 9th, this is the newest information we have. And again, that is a process that has not gone to their budget committee or through their commissioners yet. So it is draft form as well. So that's the newest information we have on that.
Throw it up. Right down.
Any questions on that? The county? County's all valuation driven, but I haven't seen the operational budget, so I don't know what's in it.
I don't even know what they do up there, do you?
I mean, it's usually jail. Jail funding is a big part of it. They've used the ARPA funding to build a new, recovery, addiction, center. But we've asked about those operational costs and how they're gonna pay for those, and so, they're gonna use insurance and other things, but I haven't seen the budget. He just gave me the number. At first, I thought it was good news, and then I looked at what I had put in, and I said, whoa, that's not good news. So tonight, everybody has their agenda review document. So we're going to start on page 127 with solid waste. And Chris Simeone, the Public Works Director. So if you go to your Health Welfare tab, that's the easiest way to get there. And the first budget detail sheet you'll go to is solid waste. So, Chris?
Let me know.
So, most of you know me, Chris Simeone, Public Works. I know we have a few newer members on the budget board. So I'll just start out by saying that in 2022, we didn't receive any contamination charges. So I think that's a plus, and hats off to John and his education campaign for that. I think we've been very fortunate in that respect. On top of it, the processing fees for the recycling were also down. And so this past year, we received a $31,000 rebate on that. Because if there's anything that's we've paid in overages for the processing, we get 80% of that back at the end of the year. So that was the $31,000 we got back. It's not a guarantee every year, but fortunately we did get it this year. Our current contract with Casella is going to expire in 2024, so we will be going back out to bid for that. There's going to be some changes coming up with that. The most notable change is that we're going to have to go to automated pickup. So I'm sure everybody's aware, they've seen the trucks with the arms on them that pick up the barrels. The trend in the industry is moving toward that, and Casella actually won't even bid on a contract unless we move toward an automated pickup. So I think you'll see more on that next week in the capital budget as far as the containers that we will have to purchase. Other than that, next slide. This is kind of a snapshot of last year. It stands to reason, obviously our heaviest months are going to be May through, October. That's when we have the most people here in town over the summer. So certainly that's going to generate more trash, more recycling. So last year, 2,281 tons of trash and 372 tons of recycling materials for a total of 2,653 tons. And next slide. And this is just a breakdown. So, out of what was collected, 14% of that was recyclables. The 86% was solid waste. Not a lot has changed with that budget. Two notable changes would be in the curbside waste line item, as well as a recycling pickup. And these are contractual increases with Casella. So these were budgeted off the contract. The other notable change would be a small one under the unacceptable waste category. So this is the line item that we use to pay for our hazardous household day in Kennebunk. But we also got notification from CPRC, who runs the center over there. There is an increase now on any products that is unacceptable. In other words, can't be picked up curbside. And unfortunately, at points in time, we do have to bring stuff over to Kennebunk to dispose of it. So we did add a little bit more there, knowing that prices were going up on that. We were able to drop the monitoring line item by $2,300. I think everybody here is aware that, you know, last year, about 14 months ago, DEP reached out to us, you know, with a project that they had to test for PFAS at the landfill. There were 14 residents that had to be tested there. We did have 2 that tested over the current drinking limits for PFAS levels. So we have some certain responsibilities now moving forward. Both of those will have to be tested quarterly from here on out. We did have to install filter systems in that house. One of them was highway, the other was a house next door. And we're gonna be responsible for that maintenance moving forward. The good part is that currently, right now, Maine DEP is reimbursing us for the testing services. But as far as the maintenance cost goes, the town is responsible for the maintenance. So any questions?
Chris, other than Casella, is there anybody out there who's likely to bid on trash and what have you pick up?
Yes, I would say Casella and likely
Waste management.
Waste Management.
Seacoast, they big enough to do anything?
I don't know whether they are or not.
Would they likely be new containers pick up with automated, both of them?
Yes, yep, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole industry is moving toward that.
Right.
And the reason being, one is safety. You know, you don't have to have help riding around on the back of the truck, certainly in, you know, freezing weather on top of it, but, you know, part of it is, it's labor, right? So they can reduce their labor costs by having mechanical pickup. You know, how much of a time saver it is, I don't know, but certainly, you know, labor and safety,
Okay.
so.
But as far as you know, everybody that likely would bid with the same mechanical pickup.
Yes,
That's gonna be interesting, because if you see the way people put their trash out now, I mean, it's scattered all over the place. I mean, you know, barrels are behind each barrel, and I think it's gonna be kinda difficult for them.
yeah, I mean, we're anticipating that we'll definitely have to have an
That's a-
education
That's a
campaign,
definite learning curve,
yeah,
And a compliance curve, I'm
yeah,
afraid.
yeah.
yes.
Right, plus I think it's gonna be difficult for people who live on private roads that have to haul the trash a long way or have long driveways, like I do.
Yes,
And it's gonna be very difficult, because those containers don't really fit in a car,
right,
where a smaller trash barrel, which is what I use now, can fit in my car.
Right.
Or in my golf cart.
right.
I think they all have wheels.
Yeah,
They,
Yeah,
they
but
do have wheels, and
It's gonna be
certainly,
a long haul.
you know, we understand that, you know, and it's gonna be dependent, I think, on individual homeowners' needs. You know, I think some homeowners will need larger trash, you know, cans. They do make a smaller one, that is an option, and, you know, we haven't gotten that deep into the weeds of it. You know, we're speculating that there's gonna be a need for both, you know, a desire for a couple different options for the size, so.
Will that also be for the recyclables?
Yes, yes, yep.
Chris, will it be for the beach also?
Yes, it will, townwide.
Will, will both of, like, Waste Management and Casella, are the trucks interchangeable in that one type of trash container will be used for both companies?
Yes, they're
So
pretty
we
well
don't
an
have-
industry standard, yeah. They have a steel bar at the bottom, that the arm can hook onto and lock into.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Yes, we are.
So next we have Allison Kenaway for Public Health, and that is on page 131. So if you just keep flipping forward, you'll see page 131.
Good evening, everyone. Allison Kenaway from Director of Kennebunkport Public Health, for those who don't know me. I just want to say thank you again for another great year, for all of your support. We're very fortunate to have our whole community behind us. This has been a very busy year, different than the busy COVID years, because COVID still is around and continues to haunt us. And although our office COVID testing is way down, we still have seen an increase in our patients due to the chaos of the medical industry right now. Many doctors have retired, moved on. Staffing shortages in the hospitals and medical offices has been really difficult for people to get connected with medical care. So we're seeing a lot of increase in our patients and requests through our office. It's all good, though, because that's what we're here for, and we're happy to take care of everyone that we can. So let us know how we can help. Next slide. First, I just want to introduce our team. So we have one full-time nurse, which is me, and then I have 26 hours a week that is shared by 3 per diem nurses. Next slide, please. Stacy Corsi, Kim Noble, and Kristen Garvin, and we're very lucky to have such a strong, dedicated staff, all from town. We don't seem to have an employee shortage here. It's awesome. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what we've been up to this past year. We just had our 75th anniversary year, and we celebrated all year long as best as we could, having monthly activities, lectures held throughout the year to educate the community, and most of which was held at Graves Library Community Room. We had some scam topic classes that we offered to anyone who was interested by Officer Candace Simeone from the Kennebunk Police Department, along with our Detective Corey Tardif from Kennebunkport Police. And they educated mostly seniors on all the kind of scams that are going on out there. They were really well attended, and we plan on doing that again this fall. Next slide, please. We also hosted a bicycle rodeo with the Maine Bicycle Coalition to help educate kids on the rules of the road and safety. We had Portsmouth Regional Hospital Injury Prevention present, who gave out new bicycle helmets to kids who needed helmets. We had mainly bicycle from Lower Village that was present as well to tune up bikes and to inflate tires if needed. And Aunt Marie's donated 100 free ice cream cone vouchers that our police department distributed throughout the summer to kids who were using safe bike signals and wore their helmets and all that kind of stuff. We also hosted Dr. Marilyn Gallucci from UNE on 3 separate occasions to discuss ageism, empowerment for end-of-life preparation, and she sparked us to start up the Death Cafe. So the Death Cafe has been pretty popular lately. We held a Stop the Bleed class to teach people to recognize life-threatening situations and the ability to know how to stop excessive bleeding and save a life. We had community CPR and AED classes. And we've had our monthly Your Health Matters book groups that are on health-related topics, and our monthly CARES meetings, which is 3 towns, 1 community cares. It's a support group regarding substance use disorder and Narcan training and education. And we've collaborate with Kennebunkport, UNE's police departments, University of New England's Coastal Healthy Community Coalition, and Graves Library to present that. We had a flu clinic and a COVID booster clinic with Walgreens and York County Emergency Management, and we gave out flu shots and the booster shots. We had 170 flu shots given and 130 COVID boosters last fall. We worked with Public Works to provide the sand for seniors. Whoops, next slide, please. I missed that. We had worked with Public Works to do a Sand for Seniors again this year, and we provided 27 sand buckets to seniors. And we've assisted with senior lunches with Parks and Rec. And next slide, please. And we worked with Maine Healthy Beaches and our planning department on the water quality within the Goose Rocks Beach watershed, and continued our biweekly beach water testing at Goose Rocks and Colony Beach from Memorial Day till Labor Day. And we plan on continuing all this testing this year as well. We have a monthly newsletter that comes out, and we had a well water testing day last year in June in collaboration with Nelson Analytical Lab, and it'll occur again this year, and the dates are going to be the first 2 weeks of June. That'll be June 1st to the 15th, where people can drop off the well kits for well water testing. We partnered with Impact Melanoma last fall to provide skin cancer education and free sunscreen to our outdoor employees, along with dispensers at our parks and Dock Square for public use. And we also have education for new parents, and they provided us with these sunscreen blankets that we put inside of the welcome baby bags that we work with the Health Council. We assist the Health Council with those baby bag projects, welcoming the new babies to our community. And we also help the Health Council with the Back to School Backpack Program, supplying backpacks and school supplies to those children in need. We continue with our office visits and home visits, and we have a durable medical loan closet that's been super busy this year. Next slide, please. Oh, and I started up the foot care clinics. We've established them monthly, and they've been super busy. I had to increase them to twice a month. And now I have 52 clients that come routinely for foot care. And our office is also in charge of the employee wellness, and we've had various wellness events for town employees throughout the year, including hula hooping on the green. So stay tuned for more to come. Next slide, please. So we have some some statistics. We did 1,128 home visits, and we had 485 office visits. We had 270 borrowed and returned loan equipment. And I put up the other years from 2019 to 22, just showing how prior to COVID, we were doing a lot more home visits and less office visits. During COVID, it kind of flipped a little bit, and then now we've gone back to more home visits than less.
What type of loan equipment do you guys store?
We have wheelchairs, walkers, commodes, shower chairs, crutches, canes, bedside rails sometimes.
Whatever you need, Alan.
Yeah.
Come on
We
over
got
and
it.
take a look.
Long-term loans?
Yeah, I'm
It's
closer than you
however long you need it. When you're done, you bring it back.
think. Well, it's good, that's good to know, though.
Yes, right.
All right. Next slide, please. So goals for our office this coming year is to continue providing medical care in the office and at home for our residents. Continue programming for health, wellness, and education to the community. Water quality at the beaches and the watershed of Goose Rocks. And foot care clinics, general assistance and social service needs. Continuing education and training for nursing staff. And continue to collaborate with University of New England, using their resources, as well as hosting some of their interns to help through our office when applicable. Currently, we do have a UNE intern who is a senior in public health, and she's working with us right now. And my budget doesn't really have much change from last year, just contractual increase. You could, next slide, please. Oh. And that was it. Any questions on public health? Dan?
Are we still the only town in the state that offers the same kind of in-town care that you guys?
I believe so. I believe so.
Just-
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yes,
We just have a lot of old people.
thanks.
You're not supposed to say that. I got in trouble for saying that.
I'm old, so I can say that.
Okay,
Young people are willing to support.
I'm getting there.
You guys do a great job. I know
Thank you.
Ken
Yeah.
appreciates the help and guidance that you have offered to a lot of the chems crew.
Thank you,
Chief, yeah. They appreciate it.
thank you.
We're very lucky.
I would just say years ago when I started, 30-some odd years ago, public health nurses in town departments were more common, or they had regional nursing programs, and then kind of the at-home nursing started up, and
Right, visiting nurses.
most towns did away with their program, and Kennebunkport is unusual that they've kept it. But I'd say where we've seen this dearth in the medical industry, where nurses are hard to come by, and the at-home visiting nurses are having a hard time finding staff. Allison's crew has really stepped up, trying to support people, doing work that we really don't do. I mean, we do, helping people transition and checking on them and communicating with their doctors, but people are seeking us to do lab work for them, and to
Which I don't
really-
do.
Right, really do all that kind of at-home visiting nurse care, and it's really sad and scary in the
Sure is.
community to see people being released from the hospital and not have the kind of care that they need.
Yeah,
You're doing a good job.
absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions at all? We can move on
Thank
to
you,
the.
Allison.
I have the welfare budget as well, so.
Okay.
So again, I'd like to thank the community for being so generous and supportive of our public health department and our various ways to support those in need in town. The public health department's responsible for the state mandated general assistance program. It's an income-based assistance program, and residents in need must fill out an application, and eligibility is then determined. If they don't qualify for assistance through the state, that we have, through this town, have other ways to assist through the generosity of our community. We have different accounts through the town to help those in need. One is a fuel assistance program, and in 2022, we assisted 8 households with fuel assistance totaling $4,198.68. Fuel consists of oil, kerosene, propane, electricity, wood, and wood pellets. We have a food assistance program and community outreach services food pantry that we assist those families that might need food assistance. And we do have many families that participate in the weekly food pantry. We have a general needs program, which we can assist people in case, on a case-by-case basis through this program if they need something that they don't qualify through general assistance. Other ways we have also in the town is we have the Health Council's backpack program for kids going to school. We have the Rotary's CS3 back-to-school clothing program. We had 4 kids from 2 families participate in that program last year. I forgot to mention, we had 3 children from 1 family in the backpack program. Secret Santa, we had 4 children from 3 different families that participated last year, and that provides Christmas gifts for around Christmas time. Community Harvest and Community Outreach Service provide free holiday meals and baskets of food to prepare a meal at home if the family chooses that route, all around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And they also both have special needs accounts and can help if they get a referral from one of the general assistance administrators. And the last way, Apparel Impact, those bins that we now have in town, they have the clothing and the garments and whatever collections. I'm able to contact that company and get clothing for a family in need, clothing, linens, bedding, whatever. Because we host those bins, it's a free service. So I can call them, they put together whatever's needed, and they'll ship it to me. So that's pretty neat. Yeah. And last year, we had 2 people that applied for general assistance, and none of them qualified, but we were able to help them in all of our other ways. So that is welfare.
Allison, how was the change from 2022 to the beginning of 2023 in the heating assistance department?
So,
Because
yeah, I was kind of worried this year that we were going to get a lot of fuel assistance requests because fuel is so high. However, we've been pretty lucky with the temperature. It's pretty mild. The beginning part of this year, I have had a lot more requests, though. I didn't bring those
I know
numbers with me, I'm sorry.
as a Board of Selectmen, just anecdotally, it seems as though we've seen a lot more money come into us. We've had
I
some
think
very
everyone was
generous.
predicting that it was
Yeah.
gonna be a bad year and all the costs of everything have gone up so high, is what I was hearing, they don't want anyone to be
Yeah.
cold or stuck without
Well,
fuel
that's the good thing
assistance
about
or
money. It
something.
doesn't go bad. We'll have it next year.
Yes. No questions? Great, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks, Alvin.
So if people go to page 139, that is the social service agency account. And we talked about this in the budget presentation. The subcommittee meets and makes recommendations on those amounts. And we have, under the nonprofit request tab near the end, you'll see their memo along with all the applications. I don't know if anybody has any questions on those, or anybody from the subcommittee wants to say anything. I'm not seeing any hands go up, so we'll go to page 141. This is the shellfish conservation account. The town has a part-time shellfish warden who oversees our clam flats, and he works winters in Wells, because their shellfish season is opposite of ours, and comes and works here in the summer. And he oversees the flats and makes sure that people are licensed if they're out there, and answers questions, etc. Anybody have any questions about shellfish? Chris was so anxious. Chris, feel free to come up. Page 143, we have our public restroom account. So this is for Dock Square restrooms. We budget for it here in this account. And then as part of the Dock Square transfer into the revenue, it offsets this expense for $36,000 in total. So it's a wash in the general fund budget.
No pun intended.
It's a wash, not a flush. So now the big show. The Public Works tab, and Chris Simeone is back to go over that department. And we start on page 145.
The big public speaker that I am, right?
You do an amazing job.
We know you like PowerPoint.
So this slide is kind of just it's a snapshot. At this point, Public Works consists of both, the Highway Department division as well as the wastewater division. So just a few stats: 52 miles of roads, 12 miles of sidewalk. We already went over the waste and the recycling that was collected. We have one treatment plant, 16 major pump stations, 88 minor ones, 50 catch basins. So we have 7 highway employees, 2 mechanics, 1 at wastewater, 1 at highway, and then 6 wastewater employees. And the average plow route's about 2 hours. So, the next slide.
Just to let you know, when I was with the city of Auburn, our good plow routes were 6 hours.
Yeah.
So this is our current organizational chart. And both divisions are kind of represented here. So we have Eric LaBelle, the engineer, who's more or less handling operations at the plant, along with the assistance of the lead operator. And then we have Ricky Merrill, who is our operations manager over on the highway side, who is taking care of operations there, with the assistance of Matt Philbrick, who's our foreman. The one thing that you'll see new this year is the building and grounds person. This past year, we had budgeted for a building and grounds person to start in October. We were fortunate enough to just hire a new individual, Jeff Carter, and he started just about 3 weeks ago. He's doing a fantastic job. And right now, he falls under Rick Merrill and takes his direction from Rick, and is currently taking care of all the buildings in town. Next slide. So what do we do in Public Works? Winter maintenance, so when we say winter maintenance, obviously we're responsible for plowing and treating all the town roads, town parking lots, sidewalks, So that's what you've been seeing us do this time of year, rather.
Chris, quick question.
Sure.
It's probably not the right place, but as far as the winter maintenance, like Route 9,
Yes.
does the state reimburse us for that, or?
No, we have an agreement where we plow. If there is any type of road reconstruction that needs to be done, usually we take care of that through an MPI, which is a municipal partnership initiative, where it's a 50-50 cost share.
I live in Route 9, and you guys were flying by every 15 minutes of the last storm.
Yeah.
Did a great job, though.
Thank you.
Seriously, yeah.
Well,
So
thank you.
just to clarify, when Chris says we have a partnership, that means the state tells us that we are going to do that.
I detected that.
And so, and state aid and state roads, they have decreased the funding. They pay you per mile, and you have to sign off every year on how many miles you're doing for them. Not just your big states, but like North Street, I mean, all our state roads. And they have gone back to 1978 funding levels. So we get about $40,000 a year to do all that maintenance. And in the old days, there wasn't a thing called municipal partnerships. It was called the state took care of the state roads, and the municipality took care of the municipal roads. And so they just got overwhelmed, and so they developed this MPI program because towns were yelling at them, this road is in ruins. And of course, it's usually the most traveled road in town. And so now the towns have to pick up half the cost, and that's what's happened on our state roads here.
Thank you.
What are the expectations of increasing costs related to that maintenance? I mean, I highly doubt the state's going to be increasing their funding levels to the municipalities in the long term, so.
They have not. They were looking to take it away. In fact, they were looking to take excise tax revenue from us as well, to help fund that. So we've been getting, I'd say, the short end of that stick.
So this is just another example of what we do. This is what we had been kind of busy doing this spring and over the summer months for the paving plan. We will go ahead and kind of take care of anything that needs to be taken care of on either roads that we're reconstructing or roads that we're overlaying. That can consist of ditching. It can consist of installing catch basins or replacing culverts. All of that needs to be done before the paving crew can come in and pave the road so that it's done properly and it's going to last for a while. So the top picture that you see is down on South Main Street prior to us paving that. We widened out areas that we were able to get a little more width out of and ditch the road and actually take care of the drainage issues that we had been having down there. The bottom picture is a picture of us working collaboratively with the town of Kennebunk. Kennebunk was nice enough to provide not only the shouldering machine, but also an operator. And so we were able to go back and shoulder all of those roads that we had paved, earlier in the year. Just to give you an example of what that was gonna cost if we were to have either, Pike or one of their subs, such as Thing Paving, come back and shoulder these roads. We were given a price of $88,000 just to re-shoulder the roads. We had enough material from the roads that we reclaimed that we didn't have to purchase any material. All said and done, with our partnership with Kennebunk, it cost us just about $3,400 to do all those roads.
Whoa.
So it was a
Are we
huge
able
savings.
to do the same thing for them?
Yes, yep. We try to work together. If they need something, a piece of equipment goes down, certainly we go over and help them and vice versa. I think that's important to do because this day and age, with equipment failures and everything else, you kind of have to help each other out to make sure the job gets done. So this is just one example of the money that we were able to save this year, shouldering the roads. Next slide, please. What else do we do? So, as I mentioned, we just hired the new grounds person, so the cleaning and the maintenance of all the town facilities. repair of all town vehicles. Rick Bleakney's our mechanic, so he currently repairs vehicles for town office, the highway department, the police department, the fire department. Fantastic mechanic. Not much gets by him and not much has to get subbed out. He is able to fix just about everything, which has been fantastic. Other projects that we kind of help out on, Christmas Prelude, setting up the tree downtown. Usually that requires, Public Works transporting the tree. Typically we partner with Zook Builders, because we need a man lift to actually, stand the tree up and get it into place. So those are just some other types of special projects that we tend to help out on. So next slide, please. Obviously, everybody was aware of the storm that we had in January. This storm, I would say, took everybody by surprise. The heavy snow that we had. It was kind of like the perfect storm. The highway crew was out plowing. They were having difficulty plowing because of all the trees that had come down, the damaged trees, the power lines that were down. The fire department got heavily involved because obviously the highway crew had to stay out cleaning roads, and we needed somebody that could be out setting up barricades, for the trees that had come down and the power lines that had come down. So as a result of this, immediately following the storm, I would say we had a lot of hazards that we were concerned about. There were a lot of trees that were broken over the roadway. We were concerned about coming down either in a storm, somebody's driving. So that was our first priority after the storm. We got out and took care of those. And we just finished that up last week. So now we're turning our attention back to, picking up a lot of the debris and stuff that we needed to take care of roadside. So that's just another example of what we do. Next slide, please.
Chris, on that
Sure.
one, what's the discussion with Central Maine Power? This past spring, summer, they were on all our roads trimming. They did great jobs trimming. However, they're trimming trees that are not solid trees.
Yes.
And they won't take the tree down to the ground.
Correct.
And those, I saw a lot of those trees take the lines down, especially down by the beach and stuff.
Yes, and I think CMP is probably realized that, some more work needed to be done, because right after that storm, we did see their subcontractor Ironwood back in town doing some of that work. So, and I actually saw a few of their trucks earlier today, so.
But do you have conversations with CMP? Is there, given the types of trees by all our lines and the roads, is there ability for CMP to do more? Like, I know, like you said, Ironworks and stuff, there's subcontractors are around, but still they're not like taking the trees.
Yeah, and I don't know, the extent of their contract that they have with Ironwood. My understanding based on talking to Ironwood, because, we had a few issues that we needed to resolve with Ironwood. And the conversation is basically, CMP tells them to go in, and if there is a tree that is a quote-unquote threat to a power line, they take down just what is needed to, kind of curb the threat and not really do anything beyond that.
So I guess my only comment is, this one was like the old ice storm, where trees that were probably further away than what somebody looking at it in
Sure.
the spring and the summer. These things were really
Leaning, yeah.
Those were,
And I think they're recognizing that now, because again, Ironwood had left town, really last year, and then right after this storm, they were back. So I think CMP, recognized that probably there was some more work to be done, so.
Especially with the increase in their rates, that just went into place, and, just to build off of your points, driving around, especially around that substation on School Street, there are trees that were very, very close to the power lines that were just bent over and leaning over the power lines.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if there's a specific requirement, if there's some footage clearance, 20 feet, 50 feet, but it would seem as though we probably have to come back and do some due diligence around that.
Yes, yep. So,
Chris, I think we had.
oh,
Yeah. Have we ever considered doing some side of the road once a year of picking up the tree limbs that have fallen down or people have pulled to the side of the road to particularly get those? Some towns do that. And once a year they do that. And I know this year it's been, especially now, I have a pickup truck, so in the spring, I'll take mine to the dump. But I think there are a lot of people that don't have that capability, and that would, you know, we have like, 85% coverage of trees around here, so the likelihood annually, we're gonna have a lot of those limbs available.
sure.
That would certainly be helpful to a lot of people.
And that's something we can look at. It's probably, you know, in a storm related, you know, to like this one that we had on January 23rd. The scope of that work would be a lot larger than what our crew would be able to handle.
Right.
You know, so we would probably have to look at bringing in a contractor to do that work. You know, that money isn't budgeted currently for that service. That's why we offer the, you know, the drop-off days up at Highway. You know, because we can take that in up there and we can manage a certain amount, you know. You know, we don't have a large chipper, you know, so we don't really have the equipment to process it. We typically maintain a burn pile, you know, so we try to take in what we can manage, I guess is the easiest way to say it. But for us to go road by road, we just don't have the equipment for that or the size of the crew.
Thank you.
Yep. So I know you've probably already heard about this. You know, certainly we've all had increases in our budgets, you know, related to a number of things. You know, I guess most notably, what is going to affect Public Works is the higher, you know, fuel prices. You know, everything we do requires fuel, plowing, you know, anything that we do during the summer months, you know, regarding roads, and we're paying obviously more money for that. Higher materials cost, you know, a good example of this would be the salt. So last year, when we got the GP Cog bid, it was $58 a ton. That went up in June to $78 a ton. You know, that's for a number of reasons. I mean, it's inflation. It's the cost of the fuel to truck it. So we're seeing a lot higher costs there. If we have to purchase gravel, asphalt patch, anything like that, obviously it's petroleum based. Costs more to haul it, so we're seeing higher costs there. Higher labor costs, you know, services that we need to subcontract out. You know, we obviously have contractual obligations, so that adds to it. Higher equipment costs due to supply chain issues. Everybody has seen that. You know, we were at a point last year when we just ordered the most recent truck that we were looking at an 18-month lead time for that. That same truck that had an 18-month lead time was a single axle 5-ton dump truck. That truck new was $246,000. Just the year prior to that, we paid $46,000 less for a larger truck. So, you know, the cost of everything is going up. You know, and then we're also dealing, you know, with a competing labor market. We did have a retirement this past summer up at Highway. One of our longtime employees, Scott Langtang, retired. And then we also had a promotion, so that opened up 2 spots for operators. We were very fortunate. We were able to fill both of those positions right away. However, one of the individuals that we did choose to hire had a lot of heavy equipment experience, but he did not have his CDL. So we ended up having to send him to NTI to get his CDL, which isn't a problem, but there's a training cost involved, you know, because we couldn't hire somebody that.
And can you just explain that's a new requirement? To
Yes.
go to?
So, you know, in years past, you could go to DMV, grab a book, and you could simply take a, written exam to get your permit, and then you could have some seat time, and then apply for your driver's license and go back. That has since changed, of February of last year. You now have to go through an entry-level driver training class, to get your CDL. So that'll be a requirement now for anybody that doesn't already currently have their CDL, or if they have a Class B CDL and they want to upgrade to a Class A, you now have to go back and take a class to do that. So it's not as easy as simply testing out like you used to before. So there's a cost to that, obviously. So we're seeing that. So with that, I guess I'll go over some of the highlighted changes in the budget. One of the first more notable ones will be in the salaries and wages line item, with an increase of $66,644. This is due to contractual increases. It's also due to longevity increases. And we've also placed the operation manager salary 100% into Public Works now, whereas that had been split before. If you want to go to the training and education, you'll see another increase there of $5,000. We are expecting another retirement this coming summer, and we expect that we will have to fill that position. With the lack of CDL operators out there in the labor market right now, we may have to hire somebody and send them to the school again to get their CDL. So I'm asking for the $5,000 there for the entry-level driving class. The next notable change probably be the heating fuel. We're asking for another $2,150 there. That's obviously for the increase in fuel that we're paying for.
It's just price, that's not consumption, that's just price.
Price, yep. The salt line item, this is kind of reflects the change in bid from last year to this year. I will not have the new salt bid until June. I do not expect that it's going to go down. If anything, it's going to go up. So we are asking for an extra $15,800 there to purchase enough salt for next winter. The liquid road treatment did go up as well. We're asking for another $2,150 there. We have to take a delivery of 4,300 gallons. We can't simply take, gallons as needed. They send up one truck, so we have to take 4,300 gallons at a time. We hope not to have to, fill that twice, but we don't have any control over how much we have delivered, so we budgeted for 2 deliveries. Next would be gas and diesel. Again, not so much consumption as it is price, so that's why you see the price differences there. And those are the biggest changes there. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Chris.
And so, can we just go to the next slide? So just real quickly, just some of our current and future challenges. Obviously, inflation. I think everybody's heard plenty about that. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. But certainly, the inflation is causing us to, basically decide what our priorities are. There are times that things, come up unexpectedly that haven't been budgeted for, so we need to make those cost considerations and decide what the priorities are and meet those priorities first. Demand for services, obviously with the inflation, that sometimes makes it harder to deliver more. I would say with Public Works, even in the time that I've been here now, in the 4.5 years, I've seen more demand for services. And it can be kind of challenging to meet those demands because, you know, some of that requires money and, you know, we have other competing priorities. So sometimes it gets a little hard to deliver those services. Staffing and retirements. We've already seen one, you know, retirement this past year at Highway. I'm expecting another one this coming summer. This will ultimately affect us down at the wastewater treatment plant because I do have 3 employees down there that can leave. I have one that can leave anytime, and I have 2 more that can leave after June. And it's difficult right now to find those skilled employees, find, you know, wastewater operators that are certified, because we're competing with everybody else that's looking for them right now. It's kind of like a perfect storm. Equipment limitations, you know, this is another one that kind of affects us and kind of affects the size of our crew as well. You know, there's a lot of projects that we try to take on. Some of these projects, like the road work, going in ahead of time and, you know, changing out culverts and changing out catch basins and whatnot, generally takes a full crew. You know, by the time we have somebody that's operating the machine, we need, you know, a couple truck drivers delivering material, and then we need, you know, other operators out flagging, you know, for traffic. So it generally requires the entire crew to do something roadside. And so, you know, you mix in, you know, vacations with that or, you know, health issues, you know, sick time. Generally, that can get tight. We have to really manage our time well to kind of get all of those projects done. But with that, you know, oftentimes there's stuff that we need larger equipment for. We generally lease an excavator during the summer months to kind of accomplish, you know, some of this work. But oftentimes we'll run into you know, something such as South Main Street. I had to, you know, bring somebody in with an excavator with a hammer on it because we just don't have a machine that's capable of doing that. So, you know, we're often trying to struggle with that line between being a maintenance crew versus being, you know, a full-blown construction crew. Certainly we take on everything that we can. Some stuff is just beyond what we're able to complete, you know, with our equipment limitations and our staffing limitations. So that's kind of currently what we're dealing with and we'll be dealing with for the future. So anybody have any questions?
Going back to the staffing.
Sure.
Issue, so, I mean, the labor market shortages are long.
You gotta get the mic close.
Sure. The labor market shortages are long term, and especially in southern Maine, I think we're at 2.5% unemployment, so there's no one to hire.
Right.
What would you need to be better positioned and to, you know, not be caught off guard or flat-footed with some of the pending retirements or potential retirements?
Sure. So I would say that, you know, we have a pretty resourceful crew. It's networking, I think has been, you know, the most important thing for us, you know, is knowing where we can maybe grab people from. This town does have a lot to offer. It's an attractive package. You know, certainly, you know, we've had plenty of interviews. We haven't hired anybody. You know, and I think you have to, maybe sometimes it's a matter of finding that person that's worth putting the effort into and, you know, spending the money to get them trained and get them in here. Beyond that, not a lot, you know. It's, like I said, again, for us, it's that struggle between, you know, our maintenance responsibilities versus, you know, getting construction projects done that are within our capabilities, so. Yeah.
Maybe the wrong time to ask this, but what's the situation with Wells District Road station down to the Cape?
Sure. So, and you'll see this next week, Dan, with the capital plan.
Okay.
But
Just wait if you want.
okay, but we're proposing it in stages, long story short, so to kind of make it palatable.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Chris. You can stay right there, though, because we'll come back to you. So page 153, we have our utility hydrant. And that is our fire hydrant charge. So this is set by the PUC. Basically, a percentage of your water district revenue needs to come from hydrant rentals, they call it, because of the capacity that you're building in for pipes. And so this is our bill. We're not anticipating it to increase as the water district is not planning on a rate hike this year. We're gonna pass by the next one, which is Shade Tree. We'll be talking about them next week. And we are going to page 159, which is our streetlights. So this is our streetlight account that pays for the electricity for the 105 active lights throughout town. We also, since we purchased the streetlights, and so we have been able to save quite a bit of money over the past couple of years, we have to contract out for service for them. And so this amount of money here is what we estimate we might need. Of course, we never know what those needs are gonna entail. And then we also need to supply the lights. So we will be talking in the capital budget next week about the replacement of those fixtures, because they are quite aged. We didn't have CMP replace, our platter lights with Cobra lights. Of course, that would have increased the cost to purchase them. And so now that we are at that point where we need to start working on that. But, yep,
Oh, I mean, you talk, go ahead.
no, I'm all set.
So,
Microphone.
thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
You weren't even speaking into yours.
Yeah,
They didn't
no,
need to.
seriously, I should know better. You and I've had a discussion back away some time ago regarding the Dock Square lights. They're in bad shape, and it doesn't put a great image to this town, in my personal opinion, especially during Prelude. Is there plans to replace those?
You mean the pedestrian lights as well?
Right on the sidewalk area.
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
half of them are missing glasses and bulbs and.
Right. So Chris gets to work with the lighting committee.
Yes, I actually have a meeting next week with them, so we can bring that up.
Okay, thanks. Sort of a pet peeve.
They had looked at some other fixtures for those as well, and we had one, I think it was the one at the corner of Colonial Pharmacy, where it didn't have any panes in it. It kind of had the appearance of it, and we had tried that out. We've been looking for some that mimic the kind of same look we've had, but are newer. And I think the lighting committee got a little distracted with this other project,
With the
but
streetlights,
we
yeah.
can have that focus on that as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Thank you, Chris. So we're bringing fun to town with recreation?
Carol,
So,
expect some questions here.
That's a statement, not a question.
under
right?
your recreation tab is your recreation budget, starting on page 163, and we have Stephanie Simpson, our director.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see by this first slide, we've had a busy year, and we're very excited about that. I would say, post-COVID numbers, people are coming back and people are wanting to do things. And so we had a lot of participation this past year in all of our programming, all of our events. So we're pretty happy about that. Next slide. The Parks and Recreation Department is made up of 3 full-time staff, myself, the Director of Parks and Recreation, and 2 program coordinators. And I think last week Tracy mentioned her staff experience, and I'm on the opposite end of that. So I have been here just about 2 years. We've had 1 program coordinator, Brighton Bischoffberger, has been with us for 1 month. And Andy Caswell has been with us for 4 days now. So we're all learning this community still and trying to do programming and events that make this community what it is. So we're happy about that. But we also have seasonal staff, part-time staff. We run our summer camp programs, which we hire a lot of young people for. And then throughout the year, we have our after-school program. As well, we have, college age, high school age students working for us, as well as some other programming instructors. Next slide. So the benefits of Parks and Recreation, I think, applies to the whole community. It improves the community engagement and gives people a place of belonging when we come together for different events and programming. It encourages active and healthy lifestyles and improves mental health and well-being. And I think those are the big components of recreation and how we can contribute to the community with what we do. Next slide. The Parks and Recreation Department has two budgets, actually. We have our general fund budget and a special revenue budget. So tonight, we're just talking about the general fund budget, which covers all of our general expenses related to running the department. So the full-time salaries and benefits, utilities, our professional services, and building and equipment repair and replacement. So it's kind of the not fun stuff. The special revenue budget includes all of our programs and events. It has our part-time staff in that budget, and it provides us the ability to pivot and change. And when trends are happening, we can add new programs, even though we maybe don't have a budget for that particular program. So we can kind of move with the current trends that are happening. And then we have excess revenue from that fund that we do move back into the general fund. Next slide, please. So the challenges that we're faced with, just like everywhere else, all the rising costs of supplies and goods and services, utilities, everything is on the rise. But our biggest struggle that we are going to face are staffing costs. Part-time staff, we hire several of them, and there's a lot of competition out there of other, businesses and people hiring part-time staff. So we have to offer competitive wages to get those seasonal staff here. I don't have any lines in my general fund budget that I need to note, but if I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. We do have a couple new lines in my budget, so that's why you see probably a large percentage increase, because they are new. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have one.
Yes.
At the very first page, there's the building rentals.
Yes, so we rent out our room. People will rent our room for birthday parties.
Okay.
Things like that. Yeah,
So if you don't want to have the grandkids' birthday party at your house, you could rent
No,
out.
that's a good thought, though.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, mostly birthday parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, what I thought you were renting places.
Oh, gotcha.
what I thought.
Nope, they're renting from us, yes. No other questions?
I'm glad I asked, though.
Yes, thank you.
So we will go to page 181. So 181 is the Goose Rock Speech Advisory Reserve. And when the town signed off on the beach use agreement and beach use ordinance at Goose Rock Beach, part of the agreement it made with every property owner is that we would maintain a reserve fund for maintenance. And we do our best to maintain a level which is equal to $2,000 per property that is in the beach use agreement. So we now have 66 properties in that agreement, which means we need a balance of $132,000. So what happens here is we try our best to maintain a level of expenses that we see coming for the following season, and then anything that is left in this account, which is why it's called the Goose Rock Speech Advisory Reserve account, that balance, negative or positive, goes to the advisory reserve account, which is a special revenue fund, and our goal is to maintain that level in that account. So what you see here are our wages and salaries to fund Goose Rock Beach Summer Beach Patrol. So we have a responsibility to maintain the rules and to have people patrolling for not only the piping plovers and the dogs, but also making sure that people are abiding by other rules, and also we enforce all the parking regulations down there. Some of our challenges have been the past couple of summers is keeping staff or attracting staff. The same problem that Stephanie has. It's a time of year when everyone's hiring and wages have gone extremely high in some places. So our goal is to hire a certain level there, and so we plan for that in wages. We also do as Allison has said, we do water quality testing through the Public Health Department. In the past few years, we've done some additional watershed testing and DNA testing in order to better understand where the problems may be with those high bacteria counts. And so we do budget some funds there. And then we budget additional miscellaneous expenses. So each and every year, we do brochures to explain the rules as part of our education outreach in compliance with the beach use agreement. We also have signs down there at the end of every beach entrance, and I think that the beach committee's been looking at updating those signs as well. So does anybody have any questions on the beach advisory reserve account?
Laura, is there any capability for volunteers for the patrols on the beach?
So there is always opportunities for volunteers. We do put, they go through about a week's worth of training to go out on the beach, to understand the beach use agreement, to understand the rules and everything like that. I'd say where volunteers are probably needed, that we don't get enough of, is for the piping plovers. And so we do have a volunteer group as well, go out there with an intern and try to educate people about why they need to keep dogs away from the plovers and where the plover nesting areas are. But there are always opportunities as well to volunteer out there. Any other questions? On page 187 is our contingency account. And so the contingency account, you'll see salaries and wages, and then down below FICA benefits. So on years that we have a union negotiation in store, we often we'll put salaries in here because as we go through the budget process, we haven't negotiated a contract yet. So we'll put some level of funding in here. This is not one of those years. We do keep some level of funding in this year. You'll see it's 15,000 in order to deal with some of those market adjustments that may happen if we have people leave and need to hire throughout the year, or to be competitive in the wages. The accrued liabilities account, we put $10,000 away each year to put in a reserve account. So when employees retire, they can take, get paid out for their vacation time. And if they've been here a long time and have sick time, they can get paid for half of that. And so we do, as part of the audit process, have to account for our accrued liabilities. And so rather than have a big cash out that's going to hit us in 1 year, we put a little money each year into the reserve account. I think this year, the police department alone, we had to pay $40,000 out of that account because we had 3 retirements. So that way it's not hitting you in 1 year. We do try to save towards that. The fuel contingency we've talked about a little earlier tonight, and you have it on that fuel sheet we handed out. So it's about trying to hedge our bets on what fuel prices might do. Last year, as I said, the budget the fuel prices had changed during the budget process. This year, we feel like we have those more wrapped in the departmental budgets. Nicole and I went back and forth about what was the right amount to put in the fuel contingency. So, we settled on 15,000, and you can see what that did for a buffer. We don't have any magic ball, whether that's the right number, too high, too low. If people have thoughts, we're glad to hear them. And then each year in miscellaneous contingency, there's an amount that the Board of Selectmen have to cover unanticipated expenses. Any expenses that, if the money's not spent, it goes back to general fund balance, and it does require that the Board of Selectmen vote in order to expend those funds. This year, I did increase it by $20,000. I would say that we have been at $30,000 for many, many, many years. And the budget has increased, and 30,000 doesn't necessarily go as far as it used to. There was some talk over the past couple of years whether we should increase that or not. This year, I would tell you, our electricity is concerning to me. So CMP, as Dimitri mentioned, is looking to increase their rates pretty dramatically. We are not part of most of that standard offer. We have a separate contract for our supply. We do pay for delivery from CMP. And so our rate is lower than what you're paying as part of the standard offer. We did reach out to the vendor we work with to purchase those, and of course, our contract's not up until this summer, so it's too early to renegotiate at this point. They told us right now we're purchasing through Constellation Energy. And we think that we should be in fairly good standing. We did increase a few electricity accounts where we thought we had some challenge there. Especially because our demand side will go up, even though if we get a good rate. But part of that contingency was rather than just bumping everybody's electricity rates up, we don't really know where we'll be. We thought adding it to the contingency might be a buffer area for us there. Does anybody have any questions on contingency? If not, we're going to go to the last department tonight, and that is page 205 or your tab. Under capital, and you go to debt service, and I'm gonna let Nicole do debt service.
You lucky.
Okay. So in the debt service budget, we have our sewer bond that we've had since 2003, and in this budget, we budget 60% in the general fund and 40% goes into the enterprise fund. And then we also have on the next line, we have the interest for that sewer bond. And these are just based on our schedules with the bonds. These are the amounts that we were given on our schedules. And then we have the police 2017 building bond. And that one matures in fiscal year 27. Then we have the sewer 2021 bond, which is the $2 million bond, which matures in fiscal year 41. Then we have the Parks and Rec building for 2018. That bond is for $450,000. Then we have the seawall, the Ocean Ave seawall bond, which matures in fiscal year 29, and that's for $955,000. We have the village parcel principal, which is the $1.3 million. That one matures in fiscal year 40. We have the interest for the police building, the 2017 bond. Then we have the interest for the sewer, the 2021 $2 million bond, which again, that's 60% in the general fund, 40% in the wastewater. We have the interest for the Parks and Rec building, 2018. We have the radio tower bond, and that is the interest line. And then we have the interest line for the Ocean Ave seawall, $955,000 bond that matures in fiscal year 29. And the village parcel interest, $1.3 million. And we also have the sewer interest for the 2023.
That's our bond anticipation note interest.
Yep.
So we right now have a bond anticipation note on a $6 million sewer bond that the town authorized, and since it hasn't closed out, we don't have a real principal and interest payment yet. We anticipate next fiscal year it will close, and so we'll have a bond anticipation note interest payment due. So that's split again between general fund and wastewater.
And then we have the fire truck lease, which is the principal and the lease interest payment.
Does anybody have any questions on debt? There's not a whole lot I can do about that right now.
Good rates. Yep. Really.
Yep. So that's all we had for the budget presentation tonight. We do have, for the next, meeting next week, capital plan. I would ask Dave to just go to one more slide. And so I was asked about, the tax rate and the impacts, and you can see from tonight's commitment sheet that I gave you, right now, the municipal portion is about 21 cents. And so this just gives you a guide, I always say you can increase revenue or decrease expense. And if you want to change it by a penny, that's 34,000. So if you want to change it by 10 cents, it's 348,000, 25 cents, 872, and you can follow the numbers up. So to decrease the 21 cents that we have in here, you're talking about a $700,000 decrease in expenditures, or a combination of increase in revenue. So I wanted to make sure you had that as well.
That's a lot
Yeah.
to cut out of the budget.
We'll just take it out of your salary, Alan.
By all means. That'll be a big deficit.
Yeah.
So is there anything else we can do or answer any questions tonight?
You're all welcome to stick around. We have a selectmen's meeting this evening. April, do you want to adjourn the budget board?
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
That's all I.
All those in favor?
All right.
All right, we're adjourning.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out this evening.
Yep.
Laura, you and the gang have put together an understandable budget. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dan.
It's certainly gotten a lot easier to understand in the 10 years I've been doing this.
Oh, Lord, yes.
But I did learn one thing,
What?
$30,000 is not what it used to be.
People will tell me $1 million. I say, $1 million, you used to be able to build something.
Yeah.
Do we want to move them a little closer? Can we?
Yes.
Yeah.
And give
Coming out of the
Sheila a
dungeon.
mic?
I think we need another microphone too.
I can just be cornered.
Good, good.
Get your,
I won't be.
would you like a gavel with that too, Your Honor?
All right, you're free to go. You can stay, you can go, whatever your little heart
Right.
desires. It's up to her.
See if I can't rip through
Yeah,
this.
a little bit. I think a lot of it. You do? Oh, wow. Huh?
Not that I don't want it. I'd rather,
Oh, we could certainly.
well, I meant,
Yeah,
Bring it in here.
I will.
yeah,
They're doing Zoom.
right.
I will.
Yeah. Yeah. I will. Can you mention it to Nicole? Nicole.
She's leaving. Nicole, they were hollering for her. She's headed out the door.
So we need to recognize his travel and get him to say yes, he's here. So you can count his vote.
Oh, yes.
He's here with us in the ether. Yeah.
I think he's in FL.
Seems to be a popular place. Florida.
Selectmen's meeting's just starting. It'll be short.
I stay with my mom. Yeah, my mom lives just north of Tampa.
Wonderful, nice area.
It is, except it all looks like it was built yesterday.
Yeah, you know, it's good though, by the way.
Yeah, she's doing well. Yeah. They're getting ready to go on a cruise next week.
Where are they going?
I don't know. They were talking to me about it. I'm like, I don't think so. The last thing I want to do is, I'd be afraid to get seasick. That'd be embarrassing.
You go on a cruise?
I'm going on a cruise tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will be a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would think that's the last thing you'd want.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Let's open this meeting.
Let's
All
open
right.
this meeting.
Oh, yeah.
John, that was good.
All right, guys. You don't have to go home, but you gotta go. Okay. All right. Chris, Carol, we're gonna get started. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Are our mics on, Dave? All right. Well, welcome back. Now that we've concluded our joint meeting with the Budget Board, we will move on to item 3. That will be approve the February 23rd, 2023 Selectmen meeting minutes and the March 2nd, 2023 joint meeting minutes with the Budget Board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, and I should mention, Mike Weston is with us. He's traveling, but he is with us in the ether, for lack of a better word. Mike, can you hear us?
I'm here with the Dolphins.
All right, great. Okay, so the motion passes. Item 4, public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the board with any items that are not currently on the agenda this evening. There's nobody in the audience. Do we have anybody out in virtual land, Dave?
Just Jay Everett.
Just Jay, okay. So item number 5, consider the liquor license renewal for Shea Rosa LLC DBA Shea Rosa Bistro, Building D on Cross Street and Union Avenue. And as usual, the appropriate town personnel have inspected and signed off.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 6, consider Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee recommendation regarding contract with Woodward and Curran and Blackfly Media for water quality project. Lori, will you speak to this?
I'll ask John, since he's.
Sure.
Oh, John, yes.
I'd be pleased to. I'm excited about this opportunity. We, as you know, since 2004, have been collecting data on Goose Rocks, and we have a lot of data, and we've done a lot of good science on it, but what we haven't done a good job is communicate with the residents in terms of what the data mean. And that really is certainly our primary task as a town. So what Lori has been meeting with John Crowder and myself as representatives, partial representative of the Natural Resource Subcommittee on the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee. And we have recommended to the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee that we hold a contract with Woodward and Kern and a subcontractor of theirs called Blackfly, who is in the media consulting world, very, very capable group. And the committee has approved unanimously a proposal for a $13,000, $13,600 expenditure from the beach maintenance fund to fund this contract, hopefully to be able to sign it soon, so we can get the work done before the 23 season.
Great. Thank you, John. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I think it's a great idea.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Mike? Oh, he's gone. Oh, I'm sure he's in favor. Motion passes irregardless.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I'm here.
All right, did you say yes?
I did.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I lost you folks momentarily, but I got you back.
All right, excellent. Okay, so now we're going to move on to presentation of proposed June 2023 ordinances. These have all now been through legal review, so we will have our final update, well, not our final update, but we'll have an update this evening, and we will vote on these as necessary when we're done.
Good.
Okay, so Cape Porpoise Pier Committee.
So is Tracy in the audience?
I'm here. It's not letting me show my video, but I guess I don't need that, as long as you can hear me.
We can hear
Hear
you.
you. Though, could you
raise the volume a little bit, guys? Is that possible? No. For the room? Yeah.
Or for Tracy? All right.
All right, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, so we heard back from the legal counsel, and there was just one very small change on the Cape Corpus Pier Committee definition that we created. It did read an individual or business deriving greater than 50% of their annual income. And legal counsel struck the or business. So now it will read an individual deriving greater than 50% of their annual income from activities directly concerned with the commercial harvest of wild or aquaculture marine organisms.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yep.
Good.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tracy.
Sure, and then she didn't have any comments on the special town meeting, annual town meeting change of date.
Good.
Good. And Warner, are you gonna speak to, land use ordinance?
Good evening, everyone. So we had, I believe, one minor amendment in regards to the accessory apartment updates. And those, council recommended, so this is on that first page with accessory use or structure and the accessory apartment definition. And so in there, you'll note where we had specified that ADUs couldn't be independently conveyed, town council recommended that we add the words "except as required by law." This is due to the fact that LD 2003 is still going through its rulemaking process, and the question of conveyance is something that hasn't been answered yet. And so this is more of a cautious recommendation that should it be determined that they're able to, under state law, be able to convey these, that our ordinance would be consistent with that, and that we wouldn't then have to come back to the voters and change that again. So, so that's really the only substantive change that we have on the zoning ordinance amendments. You will notice that we did pull the resource protection definition amendment off, as well as the floodplain management ordinance. Both of those are being pulled due to the fact that FEMA has changed the date again. Once again. So we now have a date of December of 2023 for, effective dates of maps, so.
And that may be changed again?
Yeah, what if I can change my date of paying taxes?
I know.
I don't know, it's kind of like watching the Powerball numbers, I think, So, as I come across, if more information, I'll certainly update you all. I don't have a good, clear indication as to why that was changed, other than that because these maps are done on a countywide system or countywide level, I suspect it may have been related to a community having a conflict with their town meeting date, which is why it get pushed out. That, if I had to guess, I think it may have had something to do with that, because these are countywide maps. Used to be that panels and maps were done on a community basis individually, and
That's changed.
that's changed. Yep.
So the only thing you missed was the private road construction?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, there were a number of minor,
They
did-
just changed there to its.
yeah, there to its, yep.
Okay.
All theirs are now its?
Yeah.
Hey,
So
You're
the
talking
basics,
about the planning board.
that's right.
the
Yep.
dimensions, et cetera, stayed the same.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
the
Jay
substantive,
is in the audience if anybody has any questions regarding fire truck access.
All right, what is the board's pleasure?
Can we do this all in one?
Sure we
swoop,
can.
Fell swoop? I would move that we accept all changes as marked and approve the ordinances for the
And-
ballot.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those present? Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Warner. Okay, moving on to some more fun items this evening, accept donations towards the fuel fund. I have a $100 anonymous donation, and I have a $1,000 donation from the Goose Rocks Beach Fire Company. Those are for the fuel fund. Do I have a motion?
Great.
Second,
All in favor?
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike, I heard Mike, yep, hi, thank you very much. Number 9 is accept $50 anonymous donation towards the nurses' general fund.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Okay, I heard Mike, good. And accept an $850 donation from Patricia and Larry Keller towards the nurses' general needs account.
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Thank you, grateful.
Great. And one near and dear to my heart, Arundel Lodge, $1,500 from Arundel Lodge, number 76, and $1,500 from the lodge, and then there's $750 towards the nurses. Oh, all right, I see. They split them up.
they split them in half.
So we have
Yeah.
so we have 1,500 total, 750 towards the nurses account, and 750 towards the general needs account.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Yep. Yeah, all right,
Very,
great.
very thankful.
All right.
Generous people.
Other business, John,
No, thank you.
none, thank
Alan,
you.
none?
No.
No. Mike, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Lori?
Yes, I have 2 items. One is I handed out paperwork tonight that we received today from the York County Administration regarding the Budget Committee caucuses. And so those are for selectmen to attend to elect Budget Committee members. There's a list of vacancies that would be held in Alfred on Wednesday, April 12th at 6:30 PM. The other item is we received notification this week that our federal delegation is looking to secure funding for dredging Kennebunk River. And so the town manager of Kennebunk and I have been talking about support letters to write to our federal delegation in support of that. And I assume this Board of Selectmen would be in favor of that and would like to vote to send a support letter.
I think it's,
Do I have a motion?
Absolutely.
yeah, so moved. I think it's a wonderful.
All in favor?
idea.
So,
Um,
motion
did-
passes.
Didn't they dredge the Kennebunk River not that long ago?
They
It's a-
did it my first winter
That's exactly
here.
It's a-
right,
That's
yeah.
that long ago.
Sheila, it's a river. You have to dredge them all the time. They fill in at the mouth.
It's like the
That's-
blink of an
Yeah,
eye.
unlike Cape
Boy,
Porpoise,
oh
which is
boy.
made out of mud and it stays there for 40 years, the river is gravel and sand and probably some mud, and it has all that current that runs through it. So
is-
yeah, it's very
Is it the
common.
mouth area, are they gonna dredge all the way back to the bridge?
I
What are
don't
they gonna
know.
do?
So they have to go, I mean, it's a lengthy process,
Yeah.
but certainly the mouth of the river, I know that we did make them aware that there were other places along the river.
Yeah.
Of course, they're gonna wanna stay within the channel, but, we are, we were seeing some of the larger boats bottom out at certain points in the
Yeah,
river, and so we'll be looking to see if we can get them to dredge further.
As long as they don't send the crew
They're
that
gonna
did
have a-
Cape Porpoise, I think we'll be okay.
They're gonna have a hard job dredging out that ledge they keep hitting over by Chicks Marina.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, do you have anything else, Lori?
No dredge.
All right, I have nothing this evening. Do I have a motion for the treasurer's warrant?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mike says aye. Okay, number 14, we are going to move into executive session per MRSA, Section 1, subsection 405-6C, to consider the acquisition of real estate. I do not believe we will be taking any action this evening, and we will come out of executive session to adjourn. So I need a motion for executive session.
move.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
And Mike will call you on your phone, but you can exit the meeting now.
We'll go in the back room.
All right.
I saw you making eyes.
Oh, why am I taking my phone? I don't need it.
Sign, too.
All right, we are back from executive session. No action was taken this evening. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Okay. And motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Al had a mouthful of water.
No, I couldn't. Yeah.